This lesson starts out the second part of this chapter about probability. So we're going to talk about single event probability and types of probability today. An outcome is any one of the possible results of an action. So for example, if I flip a coin, my outcomes are either getting heads on the coin or getting tails on the coin. A simple event has one outcome or a collection of outcomes. For example, getting a piece of chocolate cheesecake from a cheesecake divided into 4 equal slices of different types is a single event. The chance of that event happening is called its probability. As long as all the outcomes are equally likely, the probability of a simple event is a ratio that compares the number of favorable outcomes, what I want to happen, compared to the total number of possible outcomes. So the way that we write this is a capital P, and then in parentheses we put what event we want to happen. So in example 1, what is the probability of rolling an even number on a number cube? So in example 1, the probability that I roll an even number cube has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on it. Evens would be 2, 4, and 6, so that's 3 out of 6 total options. Always simplify your fraction. Use a number cube to find the probability of each event. If I'm going to find the probability of an odd number, that would also be 3 out of 6, which simplifies to 1/2. If I want to find the probability of getting a 5 or a 6, they both appear, so there's 2 favorable outcomes, and there's still 6 total. That simplifies to 1/3. Down here at the bottom of the page, we talk about the probability of a chance of an event is a number from 0 to 1. So 0 down here with definitely being impossible, and then 1 being certain. So it is a 0% chance that we're going to have a hurricane tomorrow because it's impossible. There's no hurricane formed. There's no hurricane near us. It's an impossible thing, 0% chance. As we go towards 1, we get more and more increasing in our certainty. So down here at like 1/4, we're still in unlikely territory. At the 1/2 or the 50% mark, we're as likely for the event to happen as not to happen. So for example, up here, when you did the even and the odd, it's as likely for you to get an even number as it is for you to get an odd number. So if I was trying to roll a 1, a 3, or a 5, I have just as good a chance to get that as I do to not get that. As I move up likely, and then 100% is going to be certain of something to happen. So your last one over here, the 1/3, that's going to be more down on the unlikely part of things. If you flip over to the next page, there's a little chart at the top that talks about the 2 types of probability. So experimental probability, I want you to know that this is based on an event. Sometimes I actually call it an experiment. So you have data when you look at an experimental probability, and you figure your probability based on your data. In the theoretical probability, I call this your thinking probability, so your TH. Basically, you think about this and your probability is based on possible outcomes. So you don't actually do anything here. You're just thinking about what would actually happen. Most of our probability is theoretical. I'm going to show you a couple different examples where we kind of switch back and forth. So for example, number 2, a gardener plants 250 sunflower seeds and 210 germinate. Find the probability that a sunflower seed will germinate. So 210 germinate out of 250 total. So I get 21 out of 25 for my probability here. This was actually based on an experiment because it was actually done. The gardener planted this. This is what actually happened. This was my data. So this is what we call experimental probability. Number 3, George is playing a game with his friend. What is the probability George will spin the spinner and land on red? So the probability that we land on red, this spinner is divided into 5 equal parts. One of them is the red right here. So the probability that I get on red is 1 out of 5. I didn't actually spin it yet. I'm just looking and thinking about what would be the possibility. So this one's based on thought, which means it's theoretical probability. Example 4, a bag contains 2 red cubes and 3 white cubes. What is the probability of selecting a white cube? So there's 2 red, 3 white, altogether that's 5. The probability that I get a white is 3 out of 5. I didn't actually do this, I'm more just thinking about this one. So this is a thought, and it's theoretical then. In example 5, George and his friend played the game. They did something. His spin result, here's your data, are listed below. What's the probability of him spinning green? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when we're trying to figure out what's the probability of him getting green, there were actually 10 of these spins done. And it looks like green appeared 2 times. So that's going to be 1/5. This was based on an experiment. George and his friend actually played, so it's experimental. Last one, Christina has 20 comedy DVDs and 5 action DVDs. It's a total of 25. If she randomly selects one of the DVDs, what is the probability that she'll get a comedy? So the probability that we get comedy is going to be 20 out of 25. I'm noticing all my answers are decimals. So if I go ahead and change that to a decimal, I get 0.8, which would go with letter D.